All right, welcome to Peak Mind. I am your host, Michael Trainer, and it is my honor to have on the show today the one, the only, Deb Silverman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's a pleasure. I think first discovered you through our mutual friend Shailene Woodley when we were during the pandemic, and you were doing these epic astrological insights, and then you kind of just went deep with my friend Blue, and I was like, man, Deb is dropping some knowledge. I need to reach out and see what's up. So thank you for coming on.
So glad to be here.
Yes. Okay. So we're about to get into a little bit before the show my background in astrology, which I would say is pretty minimal, with the exception of what I will share is the reason I'm living where I'm living right now. Now, this could be absolutely changed based on your insights. Let's find out. But I did an Ayurvedic retreat about a year and a half ago. And at that time, I was traveling all around the world. So pandemic kind of shook things up for many of us. I decided I was going to use it as an opportunity for kind of a vision quest and was traveling all around the world. And at that point in time, I did this Ayurvedic retreat with a gentleman who was the personal physician for Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and Indian man, medical doctor. And all of a sudden, he dropped in some astrocartography and basically was like, you should not be traveling around the world. I want you to live in the United States of America, southwest of your birthplace, from this period till this period. And I was like, okay, along with a variety of other insights, but I took that real serious. And so the reason I'm living back in Los Angeles is in large measure because of my astrocartography, which I've not shared
You know
before.
what? It's so funny. So no one knows who I am, but I'm an astrologer and a psychotherapist of 45 years. I just did an interview for Paul Selig, a very famous channel, who was like you, kind of had an interest in astrology, not much. And then he did what you just did. He
Yep.
told me the story that he had one reading in his 20s that described his entire success and the week it would happen. And exactly as a guy. And so he was similar, like, I don't know about this astrologist, except that the most significant decision of where I'm going to live or what's going to happen. So that's funny.
Yeah, it is, right? Because you don't expect it. At least for me, it kind of crept up on me. It was like, okay, didn't see that coming, but also I'm taking it seriously. Now, I'm gonna lead off because for those who don't know, and I do an intro before the show kind of kicks off.
Oh, good to know.
I just record that. I record that instead of a lot of podcasters do that in front of people, and I think it's a little bit of a flex. But there you go. I mean, I respect it. But needless to say, what I would say is I have mixed feelings about astrology insofar as this. I have absolute belief in its efficacy. I think it's a profound science. I think there are a lot of quacks who don't know what they're talking about, unfortunately, just as there are in many healing realms, and you have to be very careful who you sit with. But the funny part, I think, for me, which is my resistance to astrology, which I'll just share out front of the gate because, like it's best to be an open book, is more because I live in the city of Los Angeles, which I think is true of many different places. And Deb, I think you'll get a kick out of this because I think you have an irreverent side as well. Is when a woman leads with what's your sign, which by the way, you can garner a lot of information. It's kind of like the Beverly Hills woman asking you what kind of car do you drive. It's like the spiritual woman's version of that, because in essence, they're trying to put you in a box. They're like, and this happened to me literally recently, where I've told a woman that I'm like, okay, blah blah, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. This conversation can't go any further. I've dated too many Virgos, and it's a and I'm like, wow, okay, like before even getting to know me, just like literally based off my sign, you're ostensibly ending whatever this is in your mind. And that's happened to me a number of times. So I just share that to say, I feel like, and I'd love your perspective on how to view astrology, because I think for me, it's a beautiful guide. I lived in Sri Lanka and India, in places where they use it very seriously to assess compatibility. But I don't feel like it's like, I think some people view it as like an exacting Bible of like it has to look like this or else. And to me, that doesn't feel exactly right. So I'd love your insights into how to approach an astrological reading.
Well, I think, first of all, you being a Virgo Scorpio, the two signs that get the worst rap, like if there's two signs in the zodiac that nobody wants to be, it's those two. Second,
Well,
third only to Cancer. So
yep.
yeah, but that's unfair. So, it's just to your point, every exaggerated, cheap kind of pretend game, from podcast to new age conversation to astrology to Reiki to chakras to past lives to psychedelic. I'm always like, can I see your credentials, please? Like, show me show me by the way you lived your life. Give me something about you. And by the way,
Yeah.
we detect as soon as we meet someone. You can read if you're at all awake, which is another coined phrase that bugs me. All these phrases bug me. Like, when I have to say I'm an astrologer, I'm always like, because now it didn't used to be like this. It used to be when anyone asked me what I was a psychotherapist. I was, have a master's in clinical psychology from LA. But then as the years have gone by, especially since the COVID, everybody loves astrology.
Oh yeah.
Kind of. It's dippy. It's superficial. It pisses me off, and I don't want to get set right now. Don't get me going.
Okay.
So the answer is, I happen to love Virgos. They're like one of I collect Virgos. So let's just dispel that.
Yes.
And Scorpio, moon in Scorpio, which is, by the way, where it is today, I was just asking myself in my head, what's the high road of Scorpio moon? And what it is you can endure anything. That you're shy, you have no reluctance, you're not shy of the deep, dark underbelly, the honest truth. So here we go, starting a podcast with, I don't really believe in astrology in that context. And I've been practicing for 46 years, and I'm in love with the truth of astrology.
Yes. Preach. I like it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can see, I get it.
Yeah. So in essence, I think, to me, I look at it like a guidepost, but I don't look at it in this way, like, and this is my own orientation, but I don't look at it as destiny, right? Because, for example, as you mentioned, for example, Virgo and Scorpio, to me, there are aspects of those that are part of my nature, right? Like, I don't know a tremendous amount, and I'd love your insight around Virgo, but like, I don't feel like I'm anal retentive at all.
You are not. In fact, you're quite the opposite. You have way more Libra. I don't know if you know this.
No.
You have 3 planets in Libra, and they're airheads.
Really?
Yeah, they change their mind. Everything is dependable. Depending on who they're playing with, their artists, their aesthetic is the high. Virgo's like, oh my God, why can't you make a decision? So you have an indecisive, artistic, very strong chart that does not resemble Virgo. And this is the handicap.
Right.
They put you in a little hole. They don't know astrology. There's 3 planets in a different sign screaming, I don't want to be boxed in. Air signs hate being put in. You can't put air in a box.
Nope. Definitely not.
But you are so air, which is why you're running a podcast. You've got Jupiter and Gemini, but the Virgo, thank God, you ground. Yes. You wouldn't get shit done if you didn't have Virgo. You fly around in your head. If we only knew all the places you've gone.
Wow, Deb, this is amazing. Okay, so how you have obviously this background in psychology. You're a real talk person, which is what I like and respect about you, right? Like, I haven't reached out to any other astrologers to be on the show, but I love that you keep it freaking real, and you're grounded. So how do you think about, and you've done my chart, I'm super excited to garner your insights, but how do you think about the ways in which, if you were to say, here's how you can work with, if a chart is a tool in your toolbox, right? Like, how do you envisage that tool? How do you recommend people look at their astrological chart such that it can be in greatest service, and not so that they feel like, oh, this is an aspect of my destiny. I can't go there.
Okay, so I have a school every year, twice a year, in September and January, and it's a 6-week class, and you study, first things first, your elements. Like, I wrote a book called The Missing Element, and clearly, I'm just looking at your elements. You have to know that there's a constitution. Isn't that a funny word? Mm-hmm. We all have a constitution, that you have, as I described, an excessive amount of air, and you are pretty balanced, Mr. I've got 4 planets in air, 2 planets in fire, 2 planets in earth, 2 planets in water. You're pretty balanced. But the first piece, as a beginner person who knows nothing about astrology, you start with these things called the elements, which, by the way, you can't live without. Can't live without water, can't live without air, can't live without earth. Hello, these are the most primal backdrop to every single culture, from Egypt astrology to Hawaii, to the ancient esoteric law of Judaism. Every single system has 4 worlds, 4 energies. So astrology can get very abstract and it's very heady, to your point. How do you aim at it? First, you start with the elements. Then the simple 3 pillars, sun, moon, and rising. We all know you've got sun in Virgo, moon in Scorpio, Sag rising. Go ahead and unpack those 3 signs. I've got these very funny videos. Have you seen them on YouTube?
I have seen some, yes.
Yeah, 8 million views of just 5 minutes each for each little sign. And you watch them and you start to laugh because you're like, oh my God. So do those 3 as a beginner, but then you would have to go look up the 3 planets in Libra. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that you're not a normal Virgo because of the stellium. The word is stellium. It means 3 planets or more in one sign or in one house. And that becomes a theme. And it isn't about destiny giving you directives. It's about you knowing how to listen without these crazy headsets. It's knowing how to listen because you're in tune. Like my sense of timing, today, that's so funny because I'm never late because I'm an astrologer and I was sitting in the wrong room waiting for you. I kind of like that story. It's kind of funny. But the point is, timing based on astrology is an instinctive knowing that doesn't require you to get destiny by a dictation. It's more about you being so comfortable in your own skin. And you realize, for example, you, Michael, have 3 planets in Libra, and relationship is everything. Sometimes you want to be alone, then you want someone around, then you want to be alone, you got the ping pong game going. And once you understand it, rather than going, what's wrong with me? Half of me is a loner and half of me is a partner and half of me is a loner. And like you've got it could be like, and until I can say that to you, then you're like, oh, that's so true. So that's not destiny being dictated. That's me describing the obvious looking at a chart. And how do you do it? Come study.
Yes. Beautiful. So I totally relate to what you just shared, which is obviously not news to you because you have the insights that are based on the planet. But for me, I've always described myself as what I would call an ambivert. So like I can be very social and gregarious, but I absolutely need to recharge solo. And until I do, like I can't go out and do that again. And
You're a loner who needs people.
That's right. That's right. I enjoy my own company. I recharge my own company. I like to clear the cords energetically from all the different peeps and like their intentions and energies. And then I can go back out in the world. And for me, I actually do that through the elements. That's why I live by the ocean, because I can go in the ocean and I can be in the salt water and I can clear the energies. And then
this
can come
is my
back
whole
out.
life. You're echoing. I live in Hawaii half the time and I am devoted. And absolutely every single day, I do all 4 elements. So if I'm not in the water, I'm at least in meditation because that's another form of going in. If I'm not journaling or doing a podcast or writing or reading if I'm not really taking care of the food and being conscientious about the earth element and the physical plane and how to deal with my beautiful flowers. And then fire, if I'm not laughing and having fun, I'm going home, which you clearly have fire. Your soul is fire.
Yeah. I love the fires.
I can tell.
Huge in the Wiwadika tradition. They call it tatawari, which is they call that the true shaman because the fire is the ultimate transmuter of energetics. And so
that's exactly right.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, I have a deep reverence for all the elements, but yes, thank you for noticing. So how do you think about as a chart? Like, okay, so you mentioned, your sun, your rising, and your moon. Can you just give a couple of insights?
Yes.
Obviously, and by the way, and we're going to shout this out later, you're going to want to go super deep with Debra on these things. So, and she has access and courses and tools to do so. But just for like the overall listeners to start to get a sense and a flavor.
Simple. So the sun sign, obviously the whole world revolves around that 93 million miles away in perfect distance to Earth that keeps us warm and cold. I don't know who made it up, but that sun, the giant sun makes me so happy. That's your personality. That's your ego. That's your instinctual, impulsive. You have no free will. You've got the Virgo thing. You're going to clean and organize in your own way. By the way, Virgos are not all neat. So whoever made that up, it pissed me off. But there is a method to their madness. They do know where the red pen is in the 3rd drawer behind the paper. That's different than being neat. That's called organized in a very chaotic way, which is your chart, just so you know. Yeah. So there's an organization to Virgo, and that's your sun sign. What it does, the truth about Virgo from us, what my book is about is there's a high road and a low road. There's an esoteric influence and there's a mundane one. The esoteric, you're going to love this. A Virgo is pure. It's the Mother Mary. It's the devotion to the one with such intense seriousness that there's purity. Not that they look good and that their eyes are in the right order and that their shoes are all blah, 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 blah. They have all this crazy Virgo stuff that the human nature translates. But the soul version is your appetite for seeking can be nothing less than pure. You're not going for medium.
No.
Then that's the outer personality we just did, Michael. But for all of you, your sun sign deserves to be looked at from two angles, the low road and the high road. And that's a very clear distinction. The moon, think about it, it's at night. It's when our eyes are closed. The moon's influence is on water, on the earth element. It takes the tides up and down, and we are all water, so it affects our moods. And the moon describes your emotional nature. So you are a secret keeper. Yours is in Scorpio in the 12th house. You're like, shh, don't tell people about me. I mean, superficial, yes, but when it comes to your shadow stuff and your sexual stuff and your internal we're not talking. So moon is the nonverbal, dark, internal. If I push you up against a wall emotionally, you'll come back at me with your moon. So you're going to come back and be a little pissy. Not with words, though. You can just do it like this.
Wow.
And then they go, Michael, what's up? And then you say, I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk to you later. That's the low road of Scorpio moon.
It's got the scorpion's tail.
It hurts people by withdrawal, by playing cool, by stepping off, by keeping secrets. The high road of Scorpio is what I just said to you earlier is you're willing to go anywhere with someone.
Yeah.
And in fact, the more intense it gets, the happier you are. You're like, who will touch my heart, really touch my heart? Where's the real thing? Kiss me. Like, you're like, give me
the juice.
Done.
The real
check,
deal.
Check. That's your emotional body. So the sun is your ego. It's your personality. The moon is the internal dark part of the sky at night. And the last, but no one talks about this, the most important, and it's got two names, is the rising sign or the ascendant. Why does it have two names? Because think about it. We have to get this point drilled down. The rising sign is the most important part of the whole chart. It's your soul. It's the higher self. It's what you're moving into. It's your ascension process. Your ego wants nothing to do with your higher self. Your ego's like, me, 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 me. I just want to talk about me. And I'm all excited about my new car and my sun sign and my dippy relationship with all this life. And then the rising sign says, no, no, no. We have to be quieter and deeper and more real. And yours is in the sign of the spiritual seeker who has a wicked sense of humor and laughs when you're not supposed to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like somehow some things seem funny to you. No one else is laughing. And then Michael's like, that was the funniest thing. You won't believe what happened. So you've got a soul that turns everything positive, that knows how to uplift. What you're going to love this. When I do C-sections, when people call me because they're having a baby and they have some choices to have the time of their birth, I always choose Sagittarius Rising.
Really?
Because they're the happiest. They laugh at... Listen, what is this life but a joke? But we can't keep that focus. We're so caught by our egos and our cute little personalities. I mean, I don't have a personality. Raise your hand if you have a big personality. So then we got this whole, and then meanwhile, the soul's like, excuse me, I don't want all that attention. I just wanted to be home listening to music and have a glass of wine. Is that bad?
Yeah.
And then the ego's like, that's terrible. You'll get nothing done. And how are we going to achieve ourselves? We need podcasts. We need likes on our Instagram. And then the soul goes, okay, yours goes, okay, well, that's all very funny. I'm just going to have fun anyways. You're lucky because no matter what happens in this life, you end up like that bozo guy that when you push him down, he comes up. Yep. That's Michael.
All right. I'll take it.
Yes.
You know, started off a little rough because, you know, the Virgos and Scorpios don't get the most love. But hey, I'll tell you what, the Sag is the rising. So we'll ride that.
And they prosper at 45 and older. At 45 years, how old are you?
I'm a 46.
You just entered this era where your life is going to really start because they're lucky, but they don't have luck at the beginning because they're so scattered.
Yeah.
They're looking for love so desperately. And then once you settle into yourself, 45 and older, Sagittarius rising.
I'm going to tell you what, Deb, I feel that. I feel like I'm just getting started. I don't know. Like I've lived many lives in one. And at the same time, I feel like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I you know, growing up, I guess, you know, I'm 46. I remember watching like sitcoms like 30 something and whatnot. Those people all like looked, I just looked at Brad Pitt at freaking Wimbledon. The guy's 59. He looks like he's a freaking, he's like,
yeah,
he's
okay, so,
shining.
Okay, you want me to shock you? Uh-oh, the lights went on. Do you want me to shock
give us
you?
a shock it on. Let's see.
I'm 20 years older than you.
No way. Really? Deb, see, you're reverse aging. This is the thing. We're reverse
That's
aging.
what Shailene, they called me Benjamin Buttons for years.
Yeah.
But why is it? Because you and I both have the gift of turning things into humor. So anyone watching this right now, where you get caught in life and you get caught, especially as a Virgo Scorpio, in the negativity or the fear or the insecurity or the sense of aging or financial, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You're going to not remember this. When you leave here, by the way, past lives, we've all had them. You'll remember nothing. You don't even remember what you had for dinner last week. So let's just be honest. Our memories are very short term. We can't go into the future. We only have the here and now. Now, here's Sagittarius dropping a truth bomb. Take this moment and eat it alive. Right this moment while you're listening to us. Get your hands all excited that Deborah and Michael are having this conversation about astrology being the means to liberate you into your authentic, natural self without being inhibited.
I love that. Okay, so when you say liberated into your natural self, that to me feels so expansive versus where I think some people and I myself have viewed astrology as restrictive, right? Which it seems totally contrarian to what it actually is. So how can we enter into seeing it in the possibility that it holds, which is this unfolding, this unfurling, this expansive possibility? Like how I know that's not like a tightly defined question, but I think you get the essence.
No, I got it. I mean, if using your chart is so easy. So the limited versions, I'm a Virgo and I have Scorpio moon and I'm a little grumpy because I analyze the shit out of everybody and they never pass the test. That's the low road. But then if you take it to the higher expansive side, you're like, you know what? This is me, I'm being you. I love serving people so much. And I love getting underneath the history, the secrets, the storyline, so that I really feel connected and I'm not full of shit. That's a different version of Virgo Scorpio. That takes us open. And then, just so you know, announcement, you have 4 planets in the house of the professional, highest ambition workaholic. Nobody told you that.
No. What does that mean?
It means that you're an artist in disguise. I hope you're doing art.
I am. And actually, Deb, it's emerging now, like even more so. Like
later part of your life. Everything about your chart is later in life. You do not show up till 45 and older. What a relief.
Wow. Yeah,
that's expansive. Feel your energy, what just happened.
Yeah, totally.
So everyone feel this. You get given a truth in astrology that doesn't limit him into some stupid dippy doodah on the back of a Cracker Jack box. It is authentically working with the client. This is what I teach. I have 20 certified astrologers on my site. And I do this thing called matchmaker, make me a match, find me a You send me your chart. I think about all theirs because I've memorized them. And then I hook you up so that you get somebody who understands you on your terms. And then you said it. Expand, gives you the key to relax.
Okay. All right. So now you just hit on something that kind of tickled. Man, first of all, I'm feeling the expansiveness. Yes, definitely creating more art. It is emerging. Like, not even me. I'm just a vessel and it is coming through. But you just tickled something that's really on my heart. And also, I think those listening will have a lot of resonance with or questions about, which is compatibility, right? Like, so that notion of like, and that's where it gets real interesting. So I know with my father, for example, I would say, now obviously that's not romantic, but that's the person in my life that I've had the closest relationship to date. Now he was a Taurus. I don't know what his rising or his moon
and rising.
But I do know that the love of my life years ago was also a Taurus. So I do have like a little bit of like a like, I don't know, like a charm around that particular sign. But how do you think about compatibility as it relates to, and I know this is a huge question, but as it relates to astrology?
It's because you have 3 planets in Libra. All you think about is compatibility. You're like Mr. Hopeless Romantic who doesn't want to be around people. That's weird.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Yeah, The Notebook. I'm not going to lie to you. I like a little Ryan Gosling, and I'm into the romance. I'm not going to lie to you. I agree.
Well, you've got 3 planets in Libra. So compatibility. First of all, I always say Cupid does not know astrology and she has no eyesight. She just pulls the thing out and goes, whoop. Like, and then you got that fall in love with that soulmate that you met when you were 17 that you can't forget because the emotional body got triggered and the chemistry ran through your body. You were like, woohoo, and you can't repeat that. It doesn't reoccur. And then you get stuck on, I was once in love, and you're full of shit because that was then and this is now. So let's come into the now. What is compatibility? It's recognizing that God, life, spirit organized you and I meeting today.
Mm.
There's a kismet. There's a quality of spontaneity. And if you don't respect it, you could be walking right past your soulmate. If you're stuck in your head about the way she has to look or the sign she has to be, you don't know what destiny has in mind. But I can promise you, I've seen people miss opportunities. It's such a sad story. Or they're in love and they can't get untangled because the compatibility, to your point, astrologically is tangled. And until they have language for it, I can tell you, a client came in to see me, husband and wife. They're on the way to the lawyer. Someone resorted them to me as the last option. They're sitting in my room, and I just said to one of them, this woman has no air in her chart. She doesn't talk. And you, on the other hand, don't stop. So I can imagine this is a compatibility issue. And she started to cry, and then he had compassion, and then they didn't have to get divorced. It was just, that was one small detail of me rewriting the obvious. But we try to make people like ourselves because we're such insecure goofballs. Like, do you love me? Do you love me? I'm not sure I do. But if you liked everything about me, I like me more.
Mm-hmm. Real talk. Yep. Beautiful.
So compatibility is real. It's real in astrology, and it must be done without question. We have someone on our team that specializes in this. You must understand that Cupid has no eyesight. That karma that got you married to what's his name you're with right now is not going away. And it's so hard to end those things because there's so many lessons. Now, on the other hand, do we meet couples that are so compatible and I can look at their chart and go, I mean, there's so many people whose charts and mine turn into a birthday party just by standing next to them.
I love that. I love the birthday
it's real.
party. Yeah.
And then, of course, you do Mr. Sag Rising. And then there's other people where I'm like, it just happened last night. Like, I can't go for dinner. That woman's lovely, but I cannot sit in the room with her. And I feel like a bitch. But I've learned at this sweet age of almost getting to 70 that I have to pick the frequency I'm sitting next to so I can have a birthday party. Because I want to have a party. There's not much time left. The planet is on a crash course for a radical, climental, is that a word? Environmental, spiritual change that we must celebrate, that we are peaking right now. This is one of the best days of your whole life today.
Man, beautifully said. I like that notion of peaking. How do we celebrate when you think about, you know, and I know a lot of people get heavy in their heart, which is natural when you actually listen to the news or you think about kind of the nature of what's going on sort of on the planet. Yet at the same time, wow. Like I often like take a step back and I'm like, guys, we've won the freaking lottery. Like if you are alive today, you have your health and you've got time ahead of you. Like you won the freaking lottery. You know what I mean? Like
look what we're doing right now. Look what we're doing right now. People are getting sneak previews into our lives through cyberspace where we're never going to touch. I don't even know who they are. And they're on the other side going, this is an interesting podcast.
Totally.
And we don't even know. We're in the future.
That's right. And by the way, that didn't even exist. I was talking about this to someone last night. I was like, I used to love like Bill Moyers and like Joseph Campbell documentaries on PBS. You know, it's like 30 years ago. Like there was no podcast. You know, if you wanted to have a show about whatever, you know, you had to have like a lot of backing and money and a whole team. And it's like now I can like, oh, Deb, love Deb. I just found out Deb follows me on Instagram. I'm gonna reach out to Deb. Now I'm talking to Deb on the interwebs. I mean, it's like. I mean, it's a birthday party. I'm a
it
fan.
Is. You are a birthday party. So if any of you are not having fun, if your life is, because he's Mr. Sag Rising, he's like a party waiting to happen, and I happen to be a enhancement drug. I'm like MSG. Whoever I'm with goes into a higher frequency. I don't know what that is, but I could suggest it's a little bit of my fire, starting people's fire. However, there's those of you listening to this right now, and you're like, I want what they're having. Like, why can't I feel that in my body? To your point, what do I do to activate? And it's on your terms. Some people, they need to stay home in their bedroom and play on Netflix to recalibrate. That's what that's the moon in Scorpio in your 12th house. I just need some quiet and don't talk to me. Some people, and this is in your chart, they have to talk to someone. If you don't use words, or you've got 3 planets in Libra, I am double air. If I don't have my best friend for 35 years who I talk to every day, I feel funny. And it's good to know that about myself. Like I can spend hours alone as long as someone's talking to me at the end of the day. Third category, some of you just need to get practical. Like it is really about your grounding is cleaning, organizing, Costco, getting shit done, checking things off your list and doing those spreadsheets. And boy, do you get off on the money thing. That's real for you. That regulates your nervous system. Without security, you're nervous. And for some of you, like you and I, if we're not having fun and jumping in the ocean, jumping off a cliff somewhere, or I don't even know, talking about the weirdest shit, we get bored and it's not good.
No, I will not stay long. If it stays too long in the boring town, I've got to leave. But to your point, and I think that's a really important one to emphasize for those listening, knowing what regulates your nervous system. Another way to put it, and because I liked how you put it earlier, where it's like a birthday party or that person's not my kind of party. I've been thinking about that a lot because that's actually the subject of the book that I'm writing right now. Is that notion of like the music of relationship, right? Like. And I think that You're
writing a book on, wait, hold, back up the bus. You're writing a book on relationship?
Yes.
Of course you are. You've got 3 planets in Libra. When we hang up, you're going to go do the 5-minute version on my video on YouTube. Debra Silverman, Libra. And then you're going to text me and go, I can't stop laughing. You're a Libra in disguise.
Well, what is a Libra? Because now I need to know. Of course, I'm going to go on YouTube.
Artist. It's an artist. It's a relationship person. It's a social event. It's the networker. It's the person that is so curious, so nosy, loves to learn. Everything that stimulates them is just insatiable. That's
it. That's what I identify with that. I didn't know it was a Libra, but that's exactly how I would identify. Yeah. Yes. Yesterday, Keep going. I love it.
No, you go. Yes, I want to hear what you did yesterday.
No, so yesterday I just mentioned this because I don't know if you know this. There's a beautiful artist named Major who actually Grammy nominated. Justin Bieber's produced Purpose, his album. Amazing artist, but he got diagnosed with cancer, and it led him on a healing journey. And he wound up traveling around the world, creating music, healing frequency music, not necessarily as we would associate a sound bath, but like healing 432 hertz music based on a place and taking the music endemic to a place. And as we were chatting, we talked about, and it's just wild because in essence, the birthday party analogy felt so like a continuance of that conversation where we were saying people, we all, like, the number one regret of the dying is they never took a shot at living life on their own terms, right? Like they never took a chance at singing their own song. And to me, I think about, wow, like our people are like, it's like our band, like your best friend that you talk to every day for 35 years. Like that's like your duet, like that's your like Hall and Oates or your,
totally.
I don't even know what the analogy is, but you know what I mean? But that's your music. That's your kind of party, And I think just for people listening, the thing that has just been hitting me is I think we worry about whether someone likes us or that person or with judgment. And like, granted that aspect of my Virgo is alive. Like I can tell, I can feel like, okay, that's judgy or that's not whatever. But I feel like it's like if we depersonalize it and we're just like, what's my kind of music? Like which people are my kind of song, right? Like Metallica, I can respect is good music, but it's not my kind of party. Like I don't want to go listen to Metallica.
That's so cool.
You know what I mean? But if you're playing 90s hip hop or salsa or even classical music, which are all very different, that's my kind of party. I can get into it. You know what I mean? And so I just think because relationships
that's astrology. This is astrology 101.
Okay,
Your taste buds are directly related to your resonance on your frequency. What astrology does is it's very simple. It looks so complicated. It's a very simple language. There's a few things you look for. And for you, this is really interesting. One more tidbit for your chart. At the moment of your birth, the planet Neptune was right on the eastern horizon. And in astrology, the eastern horizon at the moment of birth is very significant. It determines your soul, your rising sign. So everybody goes running out of the hospital to see what's at the eastern horizon, and that establishes the rising sign, which for you is Sag. But the planet Neptune was standing there, which only happens once a day for about an hour and a half. And it rules, get ready, the musical octaves of vibration and frequency where you can feel people without words and you get an intuition and it goes through your body like a swoo, like you can feel people and music in your body.
Yes. No one's ever, I didn't even know words for that. Debra, you broke it. Yes. It's like synesthesia, but feeling.
It's like your body goes woo, 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 woo. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is why I do astrology on podcasts for the 80,000 times. Why? Because I want you to know there's ways to give you ask the best question today. What is it? How do I expand rather than contract with astrology? Once I tell you you've got a tuning fork sitting on your body that's facilitating your gift of intuition and musical artistic ability, you can walk in and look at art, you get a feeling. I love that. I don't know why, but your body just goes, ding, 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 ding. You're like a lie detector test. Once you know that, it sets you free. And that's what astrology is meant to do. It's not here to complicate. Promise you, we have a guarantee 7 days. If you, at the end of the 7 days, you're like, this is, so, no, you're going to go, oh, I just fell in love. People fall in love in our school with themselves.
Of course. I mean, how can you not? Okay. So this tuning fork, let me ask you this question, because you mentioned earlier cesarean, which is wild because I never thought about people actually trying to, although it does make sense, people want to control many aspects, but like a birth. And I was actually cesarean born. And matter of fact, my mom, which is wild, my mom was told that she had 2 minutes or both myself and her would have passed because I was something like, I don't know if the cord was around my neck or there was some placenta I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was kind of like an intense coming into the world, so to speak.
Wow, that's so Moon in Scorpio.
Yeah, so it was
That
wild.
death
And
would be sitting right
is Scorpio.
there.
Yeah. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but okay, so and I don't know if there's an equivalent for this in the astrology that you're a master of. But in Vedic astrology, what's wild is, and I don't know if there's a corollary, so this may be a non sequitur, but he said, you were born during a lunar eclipse or something like that. Like it was like there, and so they call it Rahu, and I forget Ketu and Rahu, right? So like also he was like you're in the esoteric, like you're the dragon because you're also you were born in this like this particular moment where there was like a lunar eclipse, and therefore this other woman who I also had never seen, and I'm just going to drop this and you can either pick it up or leave it, but I went to another woman. I wasn't even there for an astrological reading. And I randomly told her, "Oh yeah, I was studying with this this healer in Sri Lanka." She's like, "What kind of healer?" I was like, "Oh, I studied. It's called Bhutavidya." No one's ever heard of it, so I didn't anticipate she would know it. She's like, "You studied Bhutavidya?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "No one knows what that is." She was like, "Oh, I did. I was in India for 10 years. I would like literally diet with the moon each month, different moons to get in a relationship. I went looking for Bhutavidya and couldn't find it." She's like, "You're Vishalka." And I was like, "I don't know what that means." But she's like, "I have to do your reading." Like, "No, we're going to do your reading." So anyway, she, in that astrological context, she's like, "You're Vishalka." And it was a particular, again, this occult aspect, which I didn't really understand, where she was like, she was using she's like Daniel Day-Lewis, Mandela. She was a variety of figures. She's like, it's like a split tree. On one side, your access to information as a vessel is infinite, but you're also a hedonist. So if you try, she said, if you try to dig many wells, your karma will be very intense. But if you actually like allow yourself to receive, your access is infinite. And I was like, okay. So anyway, to this day, I still don't fully know everything she just shared, but I share that to say that those pieces were instrumental.
Exactly. That's so fine. I'm going to interrupt. That is exactly what I don't do in a reading.
Okay, good.
I don't speak that much astrology, so the person says, "I don't know what you just said, but it sounded really good."
Yes.
What I would say is, but I see everything she's saying. I think the trick you're actually addressing, which is such an important conversation, when you go get an astrology reading or any reading at all, be aware of the person with whom you're sitting and find out what their credentials are and their credibility is and their history. Because when someone starts talking jargon, which is what people love in the spiritual community, it makes me want to throw up. I'm like, I can't even, that's why I live outside. I'm like, the trees are more authentic in their communication than when people start. I don't even know what you just said.
Okay, good. So you kept it real talk. What about, so one other clarifying
question. But I liked it, but I love how it felt. That's what I got to say. I love how it felt. And
it felt good. It felt charming.
I know.
But like it's just said, a question. I don't know what to do with that. But one other piece, because I did take this on, and this is the part that is maybe powerful but scary for me about astrology, which was, and again, and you're probably gonna have strong opinions about this. Another person I had gone to was like, "Look, how's your relationship with your sister?" And I was like, "Oh, I love my sister. We're great." And he was like, "How about your mother?" And he's like, "Oh, we're great." And we have some challenges, but we're working through it. and I love her. And long story short, he was basically like, well, your relationship, because of where it is in this various house, will never be what you'd like it to be. And he was like, you can put love into it, but just know that you're not. And I was like, so it was very determinate. It was like, wow, okay,
Okay,
like,
yeah. I'm
yeah.
not even. You already know what I'm going to say. I'm not
Okay,
even
okay,
going
okay.
there.
You don't need to, you need to touch it. Okay, so basically, what you shared
It
is,
makes me. I wish there was astrology police that went to people's house when they do things like that.
thank you. Yeah, because that's the part where I'm like, yo, you're dropping some seeds that like are defining how we live the rest of our lives potentially if we hold it as like our truth. And that's the part. It's like not to, I won't wax prophetic, but it's like the fake shaman. Like I live in Los Angeles, and it's like these cats that are wearing the clothes, and it's like, if you're going for psychic surgery, if I'm going for surgery, I'm going to the Harvard MD with 30 years of experience. If I'm going for psychic surgery, I'm going to the page from Brazil that's been sitting in the forest by themselves for 2 years, born and raised, and has been practicing for 70 years, right? Like, Deb, I get the sense. I don't know you well, but I know you're credentialed. I know all the things that I look for, referrals from people I trust and respect. I'm like, okay, that's it. But most people don't, and including myself at times, have taken counsel from people that are just not qualified to be given the truth. And then it seeds things in your mind, and you're like, man, it's not empowering. So I just want to acknowledge and respect the fact that what you've shared has been the antidote for that for me. And
Thank you.
and respect. Where can people, if they want to do, for example, you mentioned these courses, your
They can do
astrological readings?
matchmaker, make me a match. I can help you find them because I'm very expensive, but there are definitely people that are brilliant that are on my team. My
Okay.
school, you just go to it's 3 words. Debra. Debra Silverman Astrology. And there you'll find, well, I have lots of courses. I have Tell Me a Story. I have an immersion. I don't know when this is airing, but we have 6 people, I bet all of whom you know, that are coming onto our immersion next month, where it's free. Every day we do a meditation, we talk astrology, and there's so much healing that takes place in the immersion. So
Link to it. I'll push this out before, because I would love for people to participate
I
and get the
love that. I
value from
love
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And then
I would
and
love
then
it.
I have a lot of free information. My passion in this life, every single day on Instagram, a video comes out where I say where the moon is, and it's free and it's all over the internet. My passion this lifetime is to give us optimism and hope. I am a climate crisis maniac. I've been studying it. My podcast, I Don't Believe in Astrology, started with Jeff Orlowski, who wrote the film Chasing Coral. He was the number one, it's unbelievable, the number one documentary that no one watches because it's so hard to believe what is going on our planet. So my contribution is you can look up and trust. The sun will always come out. The moon is moving in increments, and your heart is real and will last throughout lifetime. So all this stuff, otherwise, it's kind of funny.
Mm. Yeah,
And it's very compelling.
it is compelling because I think okay, I won't geek out for right now, but there's do you know a gentleman named Brian Swim? Have you ever encountered him?
Yes, of course. I love
Yeah.
his work.
Me too.
A
He's a mathematical
cosmetologist.
cosmologist, man, and he breaks it down. And I did a workshop because I, like you, I was deeply I mean, I think any of us who are highly feeling humans, which at least I think you are, and I can definitely relate to. As we said earlier, like I'm like a tuning fork, and when you tap into the fact that we are amidst, on a biological level, a mass extinction, it can be quite defeating. But what I loved about what he shared, and I just want to share, I'll give a very tight, succinct.
I'm so
Yeah.
interested.
What I loved was, and you'll love this as an astrologer, he talked about where our planet is in the solar system, right? So where the Earth is in relationship to the sun and its dynamic dance in relationship to all the other planets is absolutely perfect, mathematically
I
speaking,
know.
for the evolution and flourishing of life and consciousness as we know it. And not only our planet, solar system, where it exists in the universe, in the multitude of universes. And then, so he talks about that on the macro in such a beautifully eloquent way. But then he goes into the micro, and he's like, when we see things that we don't fully understand, sometimes we interpret them as like horrific. But actually, in certain ways, that dynamic tension, which I would describe is kind of where we are right now, there's always kind of, this is my interpretation, there's always an antidote. So like if consciousness presents us with a challenge, there's always an antidote that is presented. Now, whether we choose to accept that antidote or not is up to us. But he goes into the hawk and the hare, right? Like the hawk and the rabbit. He's like, now, the hawk actually eats the rabbit, but the hawk and the hare are what they are existentially. They are fundamentally, the hawk has evolved its dexterity, its ability to fly, its beauty, its grace. The hare has evolved its cunning, its movement. It's because of the dynamic predatory prey relationship. So in fact, they're existentially evolving each other. And so I say that to say I found hope in that, because it reminded me that within the context of our cosmos and also on our planet, there's a beautiful unfurling of Gaian consciousness that I think is so wise. And to me, I'm just seeking to try to tune into that wisdom. And the elements, honestly, are the things that I use to do that. But it was, I just love the way that he shares, because he and you look at these Hubble telescope
It's so
images.
expansive. It's your
Exactly.
favorite thing. It's you're an expand. So my version is, we're giving birth. If you were in a room and you'd never seen a woman give birth, with most people have not, you would be terrified. She's screaming, she's yelling, she's out of control. For the last 9 months, she's been throwing up. Everything looks wrong. Exactly what's going on right now. Right now, she's screaming, she's yelling. We're terrified. We've never seen this before, which isn't even true, but we pretend we've never seen it before. And there's those of us who are midwives who are wise enough to say, take a breath. I do my practices every day, whether it's yoga, whether it's podcasts, whether it's microdosing, whatever you do to maintain your regulation of your nervous system, because she is screaming and there's nothing wrong. And if you didn't know better, you'd think something was wrong.
Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy. I actually have not thought about it like that, but it makes sense that this is a birthing process. So
Scary,
beautiful.
so scary.
Yeah, so scary. I think so scary, and also on the other side of that scary is hopefully profound beauty. If we wake up in a and remember. I don't love the word awakening. I like the word remembering, because I feel like we're all seeking to, like that Ram Dass quote, we're all kind of walking each other home. But I feel like in that process, we are hopefully remembering.
We're remembering why we came here. Nobody came here without a volunteer position, but we can't remember what the contract was. That's what astrology is. Remind me why I came here.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to go deep. Deb, are there any other insights? Any other insights you want to share?
If you're a podcast host, you get the family rate. It's really true. The only other insight is there is a lot of anxiety and fear and hope. People are losing hope, and they're getting afraid of not having children, and they're thinking about not being able to have the life they dreamt of. That's all real. You should be scared about having children, and you should be doing the studies. And my prayer for you is, start with my podcast. I've collected all these scientists. I didn't care whether it was popular. Talking about climate crisis is like farting. I walk in the room, everyone goes, oh, not that. Like, I'm so sorry, but I have to, because I've got Sag in me. And what I want to say to you is there's hope. And the further along my podcast has gone, to your point with Brian Swim, the more I've realized, wow, this intelligence that operates in this level of awareness that I don't have, but it works at such a high level that brought us astrology, the sun being exact distance, and the gift of this body, that's a miracle. And the fact that the sun is making this whole room light up, the whole thing's a miracle. So please don't forget. Please don't forget. And if you can't remember, you seek an astrologer who will assist you to remember, because your point is well taken. Everything here is remembering. You did not get pushed on the bus. You volunteered. And we're so glad you're here. Just remember why you came.
That's it. On that note, Debra Silverman, absolute honor. Thank you so much. I love your spirit. I love the joy. And I also love the real talk. It's like my favorite combination. So thank you so much. And I'm going to link below to all your offerings.
The immersion and yes.
the immersion. I have a feeling many of my friends are probably going to be a part of that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving deep into the content, and we'll link below. So thank you for the gift of your work.
Thank you for doing this today.